Hi, I'm Britt.
And my name is Alissa.
And this is SkeleTales.
And this is the podcast where we strive to answer the age-old question of, is my dead grandma watching me?
That's right, Alissa. We also share true tales of the strange, unusual, and paranormal. We have been on vacation, though, and we are back, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure if we remembered how to do this, but it's like riding a bike. A very spooky, creepy bike.
Now, we'll have to test our knowledge when we say the phone number at the end of the episode. That'll be the real.
Oh, no, fuck that. I've definitely not remembered that. That's all on you. I do remember the email address.
How was your month off? What'd you do?
Oh, I got COVID. It was real cool. It was a great way to spend the month. I really thought I was a superhuman, and guess not. Just knocked me off my high horse. But now I have a new conspiracy.
Oh, what's your conspiracy?
That the COVID is some sort of like AI or viruses in general that can adapt and mutate our AI, because I know so many people, and we talked about this.
We did.
All these people who are holdouts who hadn't got COVID for 3 years really were like, I guess I just don't get this thing. All of a sudden got taken out this past month, like the same time as I did. We all got it the same time.
Three people who'd never had it got in the same month.
Yeah.
I don't know about AI now, but that rumor, that rumor going around where it was like, some people are just immune to it. They just can't get it.
Yeah, that was me. I started that rumor about me. It's not true, you guys. It's an urban legend. No, I don't know if it was AI, but it is like, man, did it like mutate to specifically target the ones that hadn't gotten yet? Because it was real interesting how we all of a sudden.
Well, or maybe everyone who got it just had that one cell of immunity that none of y'all had, and.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that sucked. And then Milo got it. So literally we just like quarantined for the whole month off there. That's about it. That was a cool experience.
My husband got COVID, who he thought he had the super DNA. Did not.
I'm telling you.
I literally days apart, I think the two of you. I mean, and right in time for our family reunion. So I had so much family coming into town, and we were like, you're not allowed in the house. And then we had a camping trip planned. So I was like, bye, Mike. We went and left him for 5 days.
See, that would have been lovely. That's all I wanted with the COVID.
Oh, like a quiet house.
Yes.
I did the camp trip. It was super fun, super hot. But I'm from Texas, so like everyone complains about, oh, it's like 95 degrees. I'm like, it's like spring day.
Did you see Bigfoot? Did you see any cryptids? Any good campfire stories? Anything spooky happening over there?
I genuinely kept my eyes and ears open. We camped in a canyon, and Oregon is known for its like lush forests and trees. Yeah. We chose the one place in Oregon that had no trees.
Eastern Oregon. Probably.
It was Eastern Oregon. Yes, it definitely was. There was like a spindly tree. And then we just had to bring loads of like tent shade. It was very beautiful. Plains. And there was like lightning storm one night, which also meant a rainstorm one night. You know what? I was looking on the positive side. It was hot and a bit wet and muggy, but it was really lovely to be around my family.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yes, I did.
While there, though, I did actually catch a story. I didn't have anything happen to me except for some coyotes howling, but I was told a story whilst out in the canyon. So I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that tonight. I have to keep with a little anonymity. And did I say that correctly?
And honestly, it can happen to your family because you have about 18 brothers and sisters. So
it's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, and then
you'll know immediately. You'll know immediately who it is. But,
oh, okay.
But I'll just for sakes of those who don't know who this is, say that this is from Tio. So Tio moved to the U.S. when he was a teenager.
And I know who it is.
I know you would. And honestly, if you've listened to past episodes, you'll know who it is too. But for this episode, it's Tio. He did not speak English when he arrived and immediately began looking for work. And most of the jobs that he got were day labor. At this time, he was around 17 years old and living in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So he got picked for a job one day digging trenches for water pipes at this soon-to-be upscale neighborhood area in Santa Fe. And the trenches had to be pretty deep. I think he said they were about 6 feet deep, if I recall. And so after digging for several hours, he ends up hitting something hard. And he digs it out. And he is almost certain that what he found was a human leg bone. It was the same size and shape of a human leg bone. So he ends up taking it to the supervisor and says, "Hey, I found this human bone." And the supervisor paused for a moment. And he realized that if he called it in, that all this work would have to stop and it'd be delayed for days or maybe even weeks before it could start again. So he tells Tio, "Go put that bone back where you found it and just keep digging." And so Tio didn't know what to do. If he said no, he was going to be fired. And so he did what the supervisor said and he just put the bone back in the ditch. After digging some more, he found a few other remains too that he was just like, shit. He just kept digging and left them in the trench. So that night, while Tio slept, he started having some terrible nightmares. Now, something happened to him that I've never heard of or knew that it was a real thing to happen to people. You see it in TV shows all the time, but something scary would happen and he'd wake up, in a start, like, and then realize after he woke up that he wasn't actually awake. He was still sleeping in a dream.
Oh, like some of that Inception shit.
Yes. So this happens a couple of times. After jolting awake again, he's thinking that this time he's actually awake. And he realizes he sees someone in his room. And he gets a better look and realizes that it's this pastor who's standing in his room. So he looks around the room and finds a big, heavy stick. And the pastor tries to start talking to him. And Tio begins to bash the pastor's head in with this stick, this huge stick. And he keeps bashing and he can't stop. And he hears the pastor crying for help, pleading for him to stop hitting him. But he keeps hitting him again and again. And he sees the blood is now gushing out of the pastor's head. And he's pleading until finally the pastor goes quiet and he lays there dead. At this moment, Tio looks into the mirror in his room and he sees pure evil in his face. And then he wakes up and he's covered in sweat and he's shaking and he looks over and he sees the dead body on the floor and this stick lying next to it, only to realize he is still in the dream.
No.
He said this happens another 4 times before he eventually wakes up. It's like crack of dawn now. And he is shaken and he's traumatized by all night long. This weird, crazy, repetitive dream thing happens. But immediately he knows that what happened in his dream last night was what happened to the remains of the person that he found. That's immediately where his brain was.
Oh.
He thinks that was how the person was killed and that they were trying so hard to relay this information. He said that this happened over 20 years ago and he remembers every detail of the event as if it were yesterday, which is so horrible and traumatizing because it's murder in the dream. So shortly after oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't know there was more of the story. I thought you were wrapping up.
There's not really. I am wrapping up. Just basically shortly after that, he ended up moving out of New Mexico and said that there was no way of knowing. Because I asked, I said, well, where's the bones? Where's the body? Like, let's go, can we go put it to peace or whatever? He said, there's no way. It was over 20 years ago, and he had no idea where the trenches were in this neighborhood. And so
that's what I was going to ask, if he remembered every detail. Does he remember the exact address? Because I bet that neighborhood is haunted as fuck.
Haunted as fuck.
Go in that next door and hear about everyone's nightmares.
Oh my gosh, the pastor with the bashed in head.
As soon as you said his construction site and he found bones, I was like, oh, they're definitely just going to keep going. They're going to not call that in because that happens all the time, apparently.
It has to happen all the time because like the they'd have to shut down all the work. And then it's just money down the drain for those people.
For an excavation, and all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, a murder scene. Or in Oregon just recently, they found bones of like the oldest humans in North America. That's where they think that it's the oldest settlement ever.
For real?
Yeah, just in Oregon.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it shut down a construction site or anything, but yeah, that's what happens, right? Or they're digging and they're like, oh, the Mayflower's first baby lived in this house. We gotta, oh God. That's terrible though. I want to know that
weird repetitive dream thing. He's never had it again. Never.
So an evil person killed this priest, and then he was trapped in a dream. Wow, Chio, crazy story, man. So my story is about the time that the CIA caught a demon. So Makia says, I had an uncle in the CIA who claimed the CIA imprisoned a kid who was possessed by the devil and fed them information. So a little bit about my Uncle B first. Uncle B began college in the early 60s with a major in theology to become a pastor. He was married and was in love with his wife, Missy. During his third year, he and Missy found out they were going to be parents. Tragically, a week later, she was killed in a freak accident by a drunk driver. B dropped out of college. He said of the time, I don't think I completely lost my faith, but I didn't want to talk to God anymore. After a while, he transferred to a different college and majored in political science, minored in linguistics, and joined the ROTC. He got out with his commission in Army Intel, went to Vietnam, and he did a bunch of crazy stuff. Into the CIA. After a few years in the CIA, he said he got assigned to a counterintelligence team in New York City. They wanted him, with his background in theology, to infiltrate the Russian Orthodox Church in New York City to gather intel about the KGB, using it as a cover. His cover story was that he was an ordained Orthodox priest, but not Russian. He had converted and wanted to be regularized or something to that effect. I didn't really understand. He tried explaining it, but it went over my head. Anyway, he got the bishop's blessing and he became an associate pastor or something like that. I was drinking when he told me all this, so forgive me if I don't remember how it all worked. I'm sure there was more, but it's besides the point. The demon. So after a year undercover in this assignment, he was making progress. But then one day, young man, maybe in his late teens, came into his office. He said he was clearly distressed, erratic, and angry. He knew who he was indirectly. His mother had been going to a different priest and talking about her son hearing voices and acting strangely. My uncle thought he needed to get him to a hospital, but then the kid lunged at him and started talking in Aramaic and called him by his real name and his deceased wife's name, and then the name they were going to give their unborn son. They had names picked out for a boy and a girl. They were also not common names. This freaked him the fuck out because he had never told anyone that she was even pregnant before she was killed. So he then called his handlers and they took him and the kid to a safe house. They thought he was schizophrenic, but the CIA wanted to know who was onto my uncle and how much they knew. My uncle started the interrogations because the kid was switching through multiple languages, Russian, Greek, Latin, Aramaic, alongside English, and only my uncle knew these. B said he thought demonic possession was just superstition, so he didn't really want to believe that this was possible. Still, he said he had no idea how the kid knew the things he did. He asked the kid for his name when his voice started to sound like a dog growling at him. Then they had to restrain him, and even then the straps looked like they could snap. I asked what his name was, but my uncle said that he couldn't say it because it was classified in a way that it could affect me since it was so unusual. I don't think that was true, but B had become convinced it was a demon. And I think by saying its name, it would come back or something. Like he was too scared to say his name. He said it started talking about their projects and a bunch of classified stuff. His supervisors decided that the kid was deranged, but they had to ascertain how he came to know what he did. They decided to transport him to Langley to be treated and interrogated. B was given a cover story he delivered to the priest that the kid had a psychotic breakdown, attacked him, and that he took him to the hospital. He then left and never went back. His superiors decided to terminate the operation because they felt that his cover was severely blown and that B may have even been a double agent, and this kid somehow found out about him. Either way, B was sent to Langley, where they wanted him to keep interrogating the kid as a quote-unquote priest. Do you understand what's happening? So the uncle is still acting like a priest, even though, he's not really undercover anymore. Well, he is to this one kid, but not on the whole project. So this turned into a spectacle, he said, as people would come into the room and see for themselves the quote-unquote demon they caught. And the kid would start spouting off secrets about them. B said Angleton was like the director of the CIA at that time or something. I had to look that up separately. Angleton eventually came down to see the kid. The kid started talking and Angleton told everyone to leave the room. Several minutes later, he came out looking like a ghost. He thanked B for his hard work, but said the kid would never leave the CIA. Angleton said whatever bastards leaked this information out to screw up this sick kid, he'd pursue to the gates of hell and personally put them down. B said that after that, he was reassigned to a desk job. He wanted the kid to get treatment in a real mental hospital and an exorcism. B decided to quit soon after that. I asked what did the kid say, but he said it didn't matter. He only said it was enough to convince him to come back to the faith, and he prays every day for that kid's soul. Years later, after he told me this story, the CIA declassified its Gateway project, and I asked Uncle B about it. He said it was a cover. An old colleague told him the information they got actually came from the quote-unquote source. That's what they called him. They called the kid the source. B speculated that at some point the source quit talking, and that's when they folded the psychic project. I asked him what he thinks happened to the man. He said he didn't know, but most likely they loaded him up with antipsychotics and shipped him off to an institution.
Oh, no. That's so sad.
I know. So Project Gateway, wasn't that remote viewing study with the CIA and stuff like that? Was that Project Gateway?
Oh, where they like tried to see if people really had telepathy and could levitate things with their mind and stuff.
I think so. And so what they're saying is that kid, the source, was like where they were getting most of their information from.
What if this kid is not a demon? He's a super psychic. And so every individual he's coming into contact with, boom, he's given this information with the language and the people they know, the dead wife, the baby's name, like given the information, but doesn't know how to like properly explain themselves.
I think that's really interesting because like rare diseases occur, rare mutations occur. So what's to say that some people don't get a rare mutation, like, and it seems like weird and impossible because it's rare and you don't see it very often. So when it does happen, they blame it on the devil or they blame it on something. But maybe, people are, we've talked about this before.
I just feel so bad. The kid caused no harm except for knowing information. That was his only flaw, right?
Yeah, he didn't hurt anybody directly, but apparently
like now he never can see his family again because he knows stuff.
Sink ships, Britt. Loose slips, sink ships, and then get you sent to a mental institution on antipsychotics. That's what the full saying is.
I
first half.
1, fully believe it. 2, so sad.
It is really sad. Because demonic possession, I don't really believe in typically. Like I was like Uncle B before. But it almost seemed like it was enough to send him back to the faith, not because he believed in demons, but almost because miracles?
Something just supernatural, beyond our realm.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal story. And kudos to somebody digging in on some family history there.
And it did have the connection to the pastor and like a little evil.
Yeah.
Like, look at that, Britt. And that's our psychic connection. A month apart. Do. And then we come back with like high five and stories. Bam, bam. Relay. Tag team. What you got next?
Love it. Well, part of my last story had Tio looking in the mirror and seeing pure evil. And it got me thinking about evil mirrors.
Oh, God.
This story comes from Elena. She says, when I was about 15, I bought this standing mirror at a garage sale. It had a little crack on the bottom corner, but nothing too noticeable. My mom told me not to buy it because of that reason, but I did anyways. Hey, $1 for a decent mirror? I could put it in my new bedroom. I thought, score.
Dude, you would do that same thing.
I absolutely would. Anyway, I brought it home and was setting it up in my new bedroom. And I was spraying the mirror, getting it ready to wipe it clean, and I heard my name being whispered, Elena. I called out to my mom and said, "What?" And she said, "I didn't say anything." So I just brushed it off and began again. And as I was wiping the mirror, I heard my name being said again, but louder. Elena. And I said, "Mom, stop playing with me. What do you want?" She said that she didn't say anything. I was feeling super creeped out now, but I kept wiping the mirror. And right when I looked at myself, I heard my name being shouted. Elena! It was like someone on the other side was trying to call out to me, and I instantly got up and started crying to my mom. She told me to throw the mirror outside in the dumpster, and that was that. It still gives me the damn chills telling the story.
Oh, yeah. No, man. No, I'm not going to be able to look in the mirror again. Thanks, Britt. Oh, that's creepy. I mean, no wonder it was $1. Alyssa. That's sus, okay? No, like, if it's a gorgeous old mirror. Oh, tiny crack. It's still too good to be true.
All right. I got some more. I'm just going to, can I just like,
I want to hear them, please. Yes. I like them. I like these, because I like the little short tidbit ones too.
I know, me too.
Morsels.
Me too. Morsels, great word. This comes from Elizabeth. She said, I just got a dresser with a fancy mirror on it. The funny thing is, the other day, my husband was on the roof adjusting the cameras, and I knew where he was. Only I was looking on the dresser for something, and I saw my husband in the mirror standing behind and to the side of me. I could see he was wearing his Dad of Girls shirt that said #outnumbered and blue jeans. I don't know why that's so specific and hilarious to me. And he was wearing his old glasses, not the new ones. I turned around and he wasn't there. So I went outside and he was still on the roof and he said, "Hey, I'm fine." And I realized that what he was wearing was something completely different than the him in the mirror. Since then, he's been acting like a completely different person for over a month now. He doesn't get angry anymore. He doesn't act up at work. He doesn't yell or break stuff. And he just got a promotion. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something.
Oh, wait. Okay. At first, I hated this story. And then I was like, maybe they don't even have girls. What if they're the only boys? But I like the outcome. That's up. That was a twist to the positive.
Is there like a mirror doppelganger situation, and then they got like swapped? Like it's
all
a magic
for that.
mirror?
Hey, babe, go look in the mirror.
Like, old shitty husband is stuck in the mirror now and new delightful husband.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's like
hashtag outnumbered is in the mirror. And then, like, sweet, sexy, I'll climb up on the roof husband is like, I'll do whatever you want, babe.
Yeah. The dad of girl, I'm overthinking the dad of girls shirt, but like, why did you put that in there? Like, what does that mean? What does it mean?
I didn't write it. I don't know.
The symbolism.
It's important.
I don't know. Yeah. I take that one. That I'm for this. Don't care if it's weird, freaky doppelganger. As long as nothing creepy happens down the road and it's just like nice and chill. Do you have another? I didn't know that you were going to bring me all mirror stories. Jesus, Britt, you're like you sensed that I had a moment of being okay, like with mirrors.
I must have, and you know you're okay a little bit with like creep or with a bad dad in the mirror.
But
I'm gonna like
positive twist.
Well, I'm gonna take you right back down to being scared again. Here we go.
Okay.
This is from Mimi. When my daughter was 5, she came into my bedroom one night.
I already hate it. Just stop.
You really are gonna hate it so much
children
more.
And oh god. Okay, go ahead.
Came into my bedroom one night saying that she'd been bit by someone. And I figured that she'd been dreaming, and I told her, come on, climb into bed with me and her dad. So she did. And then she pointed at the mirror on the wall and said, there he is, the man who bit me.
No.
She then goes on to describe the man to me in her own way and said that he was hanging. Needless to say, the mirror was immediately taken down, and we both hid under the covers. That was the first of many experiences we ended up having in that house. And then she didn't tell me what happened in the house. So I'll have to dive in a little bit more on that one. But
so the hanging man bit her? No.
Mm-hmm.
Was she also seeing this guy in the mirror in her bedroom? Like, was he only in the mirror? Like, that's the part I hate about that. If he's only existing in this mirror plane and then can creep over. Okay, now that's ruined mirrors for me again. For
bite her? I don't want something from a mirror biting me. No, I don't want that to be a possibility.
Okay, I hate this already. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm not going to be able to look in the mirror. Okay. So when I look real haggard, guys, for the next 6 years.
Alissa, your eyeliner's like way up at your eyebrow. What is happening? No mirror.
Just do it by feel. But okay. Do you have any more mirror horrors to tell me?
I am good. I'm tapped out. I hope you're horrified enough. I'm ready for your story, though.
I have something because we actually didn't connect last weekend. You were in town for a video game competition.
Yeah, Nintendo Live, baby.
Yeah, so
all the things Mario.
And so this here story caught my eye and reminded me of you for that reason. And maybe you've heard of it before, but I'm going to tell you the story of Polybius.
I've never heard of it.
Okay, so in 1981, when new arcade games were uncommon, an unheard of new arcade game appeared in several suburbs of Portland, Oregon. The game was popular to the point of addiction, with lines forming around the machines and often resulting in fights over who would play next. The machines were visited by men in black who collected unknown data from them, allegedly testing responses to the game's psychoactive effects. Players supposedly suffered from a series of unpleasant side effects, including seizures, amnesia, insomnia, night terrors, and hallucinations. Approximately 1 month after its supposed release in 1981, Polybius is said to have disappeared without a trace. The company named in most accounts of the game is SkeleTales. The word is described by Brian Dunning as, I don't know who the heck that is. Oh, by a writer named Brian Dunning as not quite idiomatic German, a word constructed outside the norms of German language usage and grammar, meaning sensory deprivation. If it was the real German vernacular, Sinnslöschen would be pronounced, oh, good God, it begins with a Z. Sinnslöschen? Its meanings are derived from the German words "Sine," why is it doing this to me? And "Lotion," though the way they are combined is not German. Schnurlotion would be more correct. Okay. That's the name of the manufacturer.
Oh my, I'm horrified.
The game has the same name as the classical Greek historian Polybius, born in Arcadia, and known for his assertion that historians should never report what they cannot verify through interviews with eyewitnesses. The first online mention of Polybius is on coinop.org. So there were a lot of reports about all of these strange happenings to players who played this game. Take, for instance, Bobby Feldstein, who claims he was abducted one afternoon when he was 14 after playing the game at Coin Kingdom and experiencing mind-altering side effects. He says that he was led through a series of underground tunnels akin to the tunnels of Portland's Shanghai lore, which Britt has talked about in a past episode, and was found the next day more than 60 miles from his house in the middle of the Tillamook State Forest. What? Feldstein claims there was another boy with him, one who rescued him. He actually now gives walking tours around Portland that attempt to authenticate his experience by returning to his former basement of Coin Kingdom.
Like, you pay money to take this tour of him being kidnapped?
Well, I guess
he wasn't kidnapped.
I have no idea. I guess you got to go on the tour to find out. That's your mission, Britt. This is why I read you the story, because I got some homework for you.
Get shanghaied, end up in the forest. Got it.
So apparently this is being sold as an urban legend, but there's people who genuinely remember the game, and so it's a whole thing where this game Polybius, they showed up. They think it may have been placed by the CIA or Men in Black, whatever, to like do experiments on the youth in the early 1980s, the Portland youth, and then disappeared from existence, making people who played it feel crazy and like it never happened, but they know it happened. And people like this poor Bobby Feldstein wandering the streets of Portland trying to convince any tourist who will pay him money that he experienced what he did.
I imagine all these kids, they don't know how to recreate the game. Could they even do they know how to describe it? I'm curious. Is it like the game Snake?
I'm glad you asked.
Is it like Pong?
So people who played it describe it as like having kind of revolutionary graphics. So skeptics think that the people who think they played it are actually remembering a different game called Cube Quest, which was released in the arcades in 1983 as a shooting game played from Laserdisc. Oh yeah, Laserdisc. That was in the early 80s.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a record player sized CD. Essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, its visuals were revolutionary and far ahead of typical games of the time. So there's also different theories that like it's an urban legend, that it was a myth. And so now it's become this myth and urban legend, but people who feel like they played it believe it's the truth, right? And so American producer and author Brian Dunning believes it was an urban legend that grew out of a mixture of influences in the 1980s. He notes real news reports that two players fell ill in Portland on the same day in 1981, one collapsing with a migraine headache after playing Tempest, and another suffering from stomach pain after playing Asteroids for 28 hours in a filmed attempt to break a world record at the same game.
That's such a boring game, too.
And then it's stomach pain. I mean, he's he's hungry. He probably had to pee. How do you do it for 28 hours straight?
Kidney failure for not peeing, and then
And then the Federal Bureau of Investigation raided several video arcades in the area just 10 days later, where the owners were suspected of using the machines for gambling. And the lead up to the raid involved FBI agents monitoring arcade cabinets for evidence of tampering and recording high scores. So Dunning suggests that these two events were combined into an urban legend about government-monitored arcade machines making players ill. I'm sorry. The fact that FBI got involved in like a video game arcade rigging to make them artificially high score.
So I watched a short, brief documentary about video. It was about Nintendo, coincidentally, not about arcades, but in the early 80s, because video games were a nude thing. And it would cause kids to be able to sit in front of a screen for hours and hours, unlike they've really been able to do before. Parents were getting like kind of creeped out to be like, are my children's brains okay? Like, are they melting? Like,
oh yeah, because like
it's a new thing.
Them.
They're totally. Timmy, did you want a sandwich? Timmy, why aren't you listening to me? Because he's totally entranced in this.
It was all Polybius. It did exist, but then no one remembers it. It hypnotized all the children everywhere. No, the deal is that no one can describe it perfectly, right? I think
which is why everyone thinks it's an urban legend, right? Is because it's like.
But how do you?
If everybody's saying something different.
I could draw you Tetris. I was like, how could I describe Tetris to you? I could draw you a fucking picture very easily.
Right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
while you're looking to distract you even further, what is your favorite video game?
Tetris. That's why I could draw you a picture. Literally, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's my favorite video game. What's your favorite video game?
Similar to Tetris, it is Dr. Mario. Have you ever played it?
Oh yeah, because it's got like the pills, and instead of
little
like the
viruses, and you have to put pills on it and match the colors.
Yeah,
I dominate that game, and I was like going into this Nintendo festival we went to. I was like, "Ooh, they better have a table with Dr. Mario. I'm gonna blow everyone's mind. I'm gonna come home with a gold trophy." Nobody could give two shits about a game that came out in 1991.
That's real.
Maybe it was 89, but still, like I was like, well, fine, Nintendo.
You don't hear a lot about Dr. Mario, I gotta say.
You really don't.
That was a deep dig that I even like vaguely. I was like, oh yeah, pills. I remember that. That's really funny. Okay, so you were asking what describe the game and what it looks like. So the game is a black box with no name that involved geometric patterns and colorful shapes. And that's it. The end.
So essentially, it was Tetris.
It was Tetris, maybe beforehand. Oh, fuck. Maybe that's why I like it. Maybe that's why I'm mental. Because I played so much Tetris. They're like, this is the one.
Tetris.
Release it. Okay. By Schnitzel. So that's Polybius. I don't know. It was a fun urban legend that I was like.
I love it. And it's got video games. It's got sort of kidnapping in Oregon.
And then CIA agent. So if you've played Polybius, I want to know if you remember this game.
Please. Yes.
Please tell us. I will believe you if you've played it. And then I'll also challenge you to a game of Tetris. But if you want to tell us about it, write it in to our email, our hotbox at SkeleTalesPodcast@gmail.com, or you can call the hotline.
Our hotline number is 302-689-DEAD, 302-689-3323. Tell us about your video game experiences. Have you come across a haunted video game? Or have you just played a game you like and you love us and you just want to share that? You know what? We are open to all kinds of calls here.
Haunted mirrors that you've accidentally bought for $1 and the best deal you've got that you regret. I'd like to hear that. Like the most awesome thrift purchase you found that you ended up regretting, basically. I'd like to hear that. Haunted or not.
Speaking of haunted objects, can I show you something that I found today?
Yes. Ooh. What's going on? You're moving up slowly. Is there something horrifying on her feet? She looks
she's missing a shoe.
Oh, she's missing a shoe. That's cute.
So I found a haunted doll today.
Her eyes
but like she stares at you. Look when she stares at you.
At me. I don't like it. She winked at me. Britt.
There's something about her, Alissa. There's something about her. She's got something on her.
And her haircut's pretty sweet, too. She's got some real short bangs. She had a bad day. She's stressing out.
So I'm going to put this beauty with the crazy eyes and the bad haircut into our shop, SkeleTalesPodcast.etsy.com.
Heck yeah. Yeah, go check out the merch shop. We got merch over there. You can go hang out with us on the socials. We're over at SkeleTales Podcast on Instagram. You can join our Facebook group, SkeleTales Community on Facebook. We're on the Tiki-Talkies YouTube. You can go listen to our old episodes on YouTube.
Yes, older episodes are there. But what's over on YouTube is you can only find our behind the scenes after party conversations, Zoom recordings of Alissa and I making fools of ourselves. You can only find those in two places. One, YouTube, but pre-screened before it even goes to YouTube, Patreon at SkeleTales Podcast, and you can become a member for as little as $1 a month and get never before seen content over there.
I haven't.
And then later on,
because I'm too scared to watch us make fools of ourselves like that. So I'll never watch it, but you guys can go watch it yourself and let me know.
And listeners, there's one other thing that y'all need to do, and that is haunt y'all later.
Haunt you later. Good night.
Good night.